But are you getting the vaccine? Why or why not? Or if you're not getting it down, will you get it later? Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Truth Reveal podcast, where we host conversations that relate in order to reconcile as we reveal God's truth. I'm your host today, Holly Harris, and I am joined by my co host.
Latricia Peak, aka Sweet.
And April Rivers. Hello, hello.
Amen, who is still getting over some ailment. So that's why once again we have her picture up. But next week she gonna be back in full effect.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, she's here, she's pushing through, and we're gonna do this. Amen. So today we have another episode for you. Surrounding the vaccine. I know that there has been, much, talk about it. Should I get it? Shouldn't I get it? Side effects, different things of that nature. We want to kind of dive into the whole discussion around the vaccine now that it's here, now that people are starting to get it. I believe healthcare professionals as well as those in term nursing facilities were the first to get the vaccine. And then of course you saw, some highly publicized vaccinations. Biden, I believe Kamala Harris got hers. There's been, quite a few doctors who've kind of, as they have been getting vaccinated, have been, showing themselves being vaccinated, all in an attempt to try to bring some what's the word, some calm to the mix, to try to get people to kind of fall in line with taking the vaccine, and trying to debase some of the suspicion surrounding getting the vaccination. So just wanted to give you kind of a background on the vaccine. Currently, two companies have been approved to distribute their vaccinations, and it's Pfizer and Moderna. They have been said to be 94% effective. You need two doses of the vaccine in order for it to be at its most effective potency. Another interesting, thing I found out about the vaccine is that they created an app called VSafe. And what the app does is it's basically for those who get vaccinated. So after you get vaccinated, you set up an account, and it's like a health checker. So it's basically how they're tracking side effects. So yeah. So it's like personalized check-ins, for those who have gotten the vaccination. Is a limited supply of the vaccination, but more quantities are being made currently. There are some side effects to the vaccination. Many of those side effects that they have were able to discover through the clinical trials, because the long-term side effects is what they're tracking through VSafe. But the initial side effects that they were able to discover through the clinical trials are like your flu-like symptoms that they say are going to go away after a few days. That includes fever, chills, tiredness, headache, and then pain and swelling around where they give you the shot in your arm. Dr. Fossey did come out recently and say that about 11 per 1 million people will experience an allergic reaction to the vaccination. So they are encouraging people who, are allergic to any ingredients that are contained within, the vaccine, not to take it. They state that it doesn't contain the live virus. So they claim that you won't get sick with COVID-19 from the virus. There's no cost associated with it. But vaccination providers can charge administration fees for giving the shot. um,
Hmm.
which they're saying are going to be covered by insurance, but then those who are uninsured can actually utilize the resources through Health Resources and Services Administration Provider Relief Fund, which they had that information on the CDC website for those who are uninsured. um let's see what other information did I find out. Okay, now this is another part that you probably would want to know, is that the vaccinations are being used under the emergency use authorization from the Food and Drug Administration. So, what this means is that the FDA commissioner may allow unapproved medical products or unapproved used uses of approved medical products to be used in an emergency situation. So, hence, that's why they have the V Safe, because they haven't really had a chance to really fully, test things out. But because of the public health crisis, they had to go ahead and start using the vaccination. So
Hmm.
um, they do also state that you won't test positive after getting the vaccine, but you may test positive on some antibody tests. So not on the
Okay.
actual test for corona, but the antibody. Let's see. But another point that they made is that it does take a few weeks to build up protections. So basically, so you can actually get COVID, after getting the vaccination, because it takes it a while to build up, like a few weeks to build up the protections in your system. So, um, and then there are three types of vaccinations. There's the RNA vaccines, the protein subunit vaccines, and the vector vaccines, which kind of, there are differences on how each of those are utilized in order to allow your body to build up the protections. And I can go into detail on that a little bit later, but I kind of wanted to get into our conversation. So, with all of this information that I've just spilled out for you guys, there has been a lot of, suspicion around the vaccinations. There was one woman in particular on Facebook who was advising people not to take it. Now, when I went back up to take a look at the video, Facebook had put on it, has been proven to be false information. So I got to give that disclaimer before bringing into her account. Her name was Tamika Morrow, and she was a nurse practitioner. And again, like I said, she was advising people not to take it. And she was specifically talking about the messenger RNA vaccine, because, like I told you, there are three types. There's that messenger RNA, that protein subunit vaccine, and then the vector vaccines. But she was specifically talking about that one and how it's been orchestrated in order to basically build up defenses within your body. And her what she concluded was that she was saying that your body may start not only attacking the virus, but attacking other parts of your body. So you may develop autoimmune diseases from the vaccine. But again, like I said, I have to put the disclaimer that they saying that this is not, accurate. So, but she is a nurse practitioner, and this is what she said. And she just felt like the risk of getting the vaccine did not I mean, the getting the vaccine did not outweigh, like, basically what I'm trying to say is that because so many people recover from coronavirus, she didn't feel like the risk was worth it. And as far as taking the vaccine or whatever. But again, I have to say, they said on Facebook that this was false information.
But you
So
know what? I'm
yeah,
sorry.
go
I know
go
you
ahead,
still
go ahead.
wrapping up.
Yeah.
All my conspiracy theory is just throwing us. This is my thing. I'm so sick. Tell me how a nurse practitioner,
Mm-hmm.
her opinion. Now we know this is her opinion, but
Yeah,
she's a medical professional. She's right up underneath a doctor.
that's true.
How
Mhm.
does a Facebook tech get to tell
Woo!
me that that's false as soon as she put it up? Has they done
Mhm.
research? Are they in the medical field? Just
Well,
like I'm so sick of hearing Bill Gates tell us how he feels about all the medical
help
health
us.
world situations. Excuse me, Mr. Gates. Can I still get my money back that I tried to get from Microsoft when y'all charged me for Windows and when I didn't have a computer?
Help us,
Oh
Like,
Lord.
Lord.
y'all up here, I'm sorry.
I
Like,
think we've struck a nerve.
I think
yes,
so.
this is ridiculous, and all my lights are flashing in my head. Like, this don't seem right. What? Why are we censoring actual medical professionals? And
Mm.
I'm just like, okay, all right. I'm sorry. Let
Well,
me hush.
acco-
I'm
but
messing up the flow.
no, you good. I want y'all to comment on it. But the according to the little Facebook thing, it said that it had been fact checked and found to
Yeah,
be,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
But of
The good old
course,
fact
if
check.
you're bringing out, if you go to the
Alternative.
CDC, yeah, if you go to the
Right, right.
CDC website to check the facts of the information, they're not gonna have that on the website because they're not gonna know that for sure. Because, like I said, that's why they have that Be Safe app, because they don't know the long term
Right.
effects of the
And
vaccination.
right. And that's my point.
And
You
that
don't
was the
know.
point she was making as
And
well.
that's the point
Yeah.
she's making as well.
Mm-hmm.
The risk, and what was making me suspicious is if anybody tries to, we should not have a society where I can't be informed of risk.
Mm.
What is
What?
that about?
It's true.
Yeah,
Because what we all know is that normally vaccines take years, not
This is
months,
true.
to develop.
Yeah.
that was another point that she
Yeah.
brought out as well. We
Mm-hmm.
actually saw the video before it was taken down, but that was something. I think I saw the video, and I didn't do any fact checking, but just from a common sense basis of what she was saying and my general knowledge about biology, it made sense. Is what April was saying.
Mm-hmm.
The flu has been around since Jesus was a baby, and they still don't have a vaccine. Like we have our flu shot
Yeah.
and they're preventative measures, but there's not anything that can alleviate the flu.
That's so
Um,
true.
so I think there was some legit points that she was making,
Mm-hmm.
and even a friend of ours, we had this whole discussion this summer about the numbers, and we're not trying to say that coronavirus doesn't exist. Obviously, I'm positive and still getting over, coming on the other side of it. But
Mm-hmm.
how the information is being delivered within media. The point that the young lady was making also was that even though there's such a high death toll, and I think all of us on this podcast know people indirectly that we know that have passed. So we're not
Yeah.
saying that death is not something that is not taking place. We know that. And it seems like daily we have these surges where there's more
Mm-hmm.
death taking place, or either more confirmations of positive individuals. But the point that the young lady, Tamika, right,
Yeah, Tamika, yeah, Mara.
was
Mm-hmm.
making was that even with all the death that we're seeing, a lot of people are recovering.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so her whole point was, is it going to outweigh, based
Yeah.
off of that particular vaccine with the RNA messenger, possibly creating these, down the road, these autoimmune issues. So I
Mm-hmm.
think at best, I didn't see anything where it was. I don't know. That's my opinion, but we live in a world where censorship is getting real tricky these days. So, we is like what April said. Bill, I need you to worry about the virus in this computer.
Ooh,
Last I checked,
help.
no, I'm so serious. The last I
Yes, sir.
checked, computer virus and biological virus are not the same thing. They don't operate the same.
Ooh.
So, here again, that's a whole nother sidebar about when you have money, you get a voice. I
This
Come
is
digress.
on.
that. Oh
I
Lord.
Come on.
digress. But it's
Well,
the truth anyhow, because
this
it's
is
the truth
true.
revealed. We revealing the truth. Bill has had a
Mm.
lot to say. And I from last year, I was like, now why is Bill Gates commenting on how this thing is supposed to work? Who gave him authority? Is this, so
Man.
that part.
Yeah, this is true.
So
Yeah, and another thing that I found out, which is another reason why people may be apprehensive, is because of the mutations. Now, I did research and see that I believe it was the UK and it was another strain that they have tested and that the vaccines do work against.
Yeah, I heard about that.
However, there are so many more other mutations that they haven't had a chance yet to see whether or not it'll work against. And so it's almost like the flu. You giving them a strain of the first wave that came through, but then once that thing mutates, is this thing going to protect you, from that mutation? And so, yeah, go ahead,
And
sweet.
I think another point too, in reference to the mutation, um, just from like the little bit of research that I've done, being now that I've, was positive and I've been just looking at certain things about seeing what other people have said, um, once, while they had COVID, the virus that we know as coronavirus from last year, beginning of the year, has impacted people differently than
It
having coronavirus
has.
towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
Initially it seemed like if you
It
got the
was
virus, it was
more
almost like
deadly.
death.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you, didn't it?
And now, not to minimize it, I'm just thankful I've had the mild symptoms nevertheless.
But
I
people are
still
still
can't.
dying from it, though.
Yeah, but people are
Yeah.
still dying. But the point I was making is, it seems like there's even been a shift from the
Mm,
onset of when we started recognizing it to how things have progressed, up until this point.
yeah. Yeah.
Right. I
With,
think because, oh, go ahead.
no, that was it.
Oh, yeah.
Just piggybacking off of what Latricia was saying, I think that, see, we're actually having to deal with the virus, so we're learning this and
Mm,
how it works and how it operates. It's just like, again, I'm making the comparisons of the flu. We still get the flu. Like,
yeah.
we didn't,
Right,
people still die from the flu. People
right.
Mm-hmm.
die from complications of the flu,
Yeah.
pneumonia, things like that. It's just, the difference is
That's true.
there's no media attention on it because this is something we've lived with.
Yeah.
It's just something that we say, hey, this is the flu is out here. There's no cure for it. We do what we can. We do precautions. We get vaccinated, um, and every now and again, yeah, some people do die. Um,
Yeah.
so I think the longer we're dealing with this, we're getting real time, like, okay, many of us have either have had it once or
Mm,
twice, you
yeah.
know,
Hmm.
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
and recovered or dealt with it, and had people who've passed away or got very sick.
Hmm.
Um, but we're seeing, I think, in real time. So where our circle of seeing people deal with it is getting smaller.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And just to point out another thing that she mentioned in the video was her her belief on why more African Americans, and I had been thinking that same thing as well, as how more African Americans have been dying from it. And she was saying how African Americans are more likely to have vitamin D deficiency, and vitamin D aids in your immune
Immune
health.
health.
And she was like, instead of them telling Black people, is boost up your immune system, take vitamin D, it's like they're pushing you more towards the vaccine. So do you guys think that sometimes we rush to create these medical concoctions and we don't consider that maybe some natural ingredient or some natural element may be better able to help aid people in fighting this disease?
Yeah, I would like to jump in on that first and say absolutely so. I think there is a us versus them in the medical profession when you look at a holistic approach to medicine,
Hmm.
as opposed to the traditional approach, when you're using herbs and vitamins and healthy eating and
Yeah.
clean eating and things of that nature.
Hmm.
So this doesn't come across as a super, super surprise that the pushing of vitamin C and zinc and D3, vitamin D for people of
Hmm.
color and things of that nature aren't being things that are being highly publicized. I mean, people are definitely.
Yeah.
I've heard about it, and I was taken. I've known about the vitamin D deficiency that affects people of color way before coronavirus was
Hmm.
even an issue, and I actually learned about that more so
because I got
from
one myself.
Holly, right? Because I think, back in the day when we were
Yeah.
roommates, you had the vitamin D deficiency, and you were
Mm-hmm.
explaining that to me, and so I had been taking vitamin D because I was like, well, I'm black, I might have to.
Oh
So,
Lord.
but I do feel like there's a us versus them in the healthcare world where we're not so apt to perpetuate the things that naturally are already here in the earth that's been
Yes.
avoided provided to us for our healing. I believe, as we're believers on this podcast, that everything that we need, that the Lord has supplied already. We just have to
Mm-hmm.
dig it out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's easier to uh, to go get chemotherapy. This is no knock on anyone who's experienced family members who've had cancer, because I
Mm-hmm.
have, as opposed to saying change your diet, don't eat this, don't eat that. Let's take
Mm.
these vitamins and see, because healthcare is a $1 billion industry, as we have
Mm-hmm.
already seen. When you have billionaires adding their 2 cents on healthcare matters,
Oh
i.e.,
my.
Bill Gates, Shade Throne. So,
Oh. Is he
yeah, I
getting a
definitely,
cut? He getting a cut from one of them?
he might be getting some
Uh-oh.
kickback. He might be. And so, yeah, I think that if we're going to talk about benefits of and pushing of the vaccine, that we should as well push some of the natural things. Take your vitamin C,
Mm-hmm.
take your zinc, take your D3 for African Americans, and whatever else helps to
Yeah.
boost your immune system to help you, because that was
Mm-hmm.
something that was, very prevalent. We was all buying tissue and toilet paper, but there was a surplus of vitamins
Oh my. It's so
on the
true.
shelf.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. What about
Yeah,
you, April?
yeah. To add to that, I think I agree. I wholeheartedly. I don't have really much to add, but I think a lot of the us versus them is the big dollar folks. The
Mm-hmm.
more so not just the medical community. I feel bad for some of the doctors and the nurses, because as you can see, anytime they even voice anything other than get the
What do you
vaccine,
about it?
they,
Yeah.
they can get their hands slapped. They can be
yeah,
censored. They can get, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
who knows, they might get sued, get in trouble at their hospitals. The us versus them, the them, I think, is pharmaceutical companies and
absolutely.
other
Yeah.
companies, like you said, the people that don't got nothing to do with the medical field, but
Yeah.
they get kickbacks, and their money's tied into big pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
we got to just stay wide awake on this thing, and I feel like whether you get the vaccine or not, that's totally up to each individual. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that we being informed, truth, you know what I'm
Hmm.
Yeah.
saying? Like I said,
Yeah,
truth is what's important. Not
Mm-hmm.
right,
not not being anytime you start trying to hide information from me, I'm automatically skeptical.
right.
Mm.
And I feel like the more people they prop up on TV, the more who
To get it.
allegedly getting the shot.
You
That's what
said
I'm
allegedly. Maybe it might be a placebo.
Right.
right.
They getting
Allegedly,
saline, getting
right.
saline.
Allegedly getting the shot on camera.
Oh Lord,
You
that's
know,
true. Yeah, because
that's
it's like there is a need for natural remedies because like what about the people who are going to be allergic to the vaccine? They don't get no protection.
right.
They say, "Oh well, you on your own if you're going to be
Like,
allergic
don't
to
take
it."
it now, but we don't know
I
what to tell you.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
man, yeah. So, but going back to the whole African American piece, we've had a history of being apprehensive when it comes to
Hmm.
taking vaccines, and there is a history behind that. It goes back to the Tuskegee, experiment that they did on sharecroppers and syphilis. Many of them died. They were promised free health care and was never given it. At some point during the study, they lost funding for the treatment of it or whatever, and so it was just like, well, but they didn't tell the people. you know and then it's something as simple as penicillin could have been used to treat them, but they didn't do it. because they wanted to see so they literally used them as lab rats because
Mm-hmm.
they wanted to see what the long term, you know, effects of syphilis would be. So that's why a lot of us in the African American community, it kind of stems from that history, that we have, with with the medical community. So I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that. Did you guys want to add anything to that, or maybe I didn't say it everything that need to be said? I don't know.
No, I think that's a very valid point that you're
Yeah.
making, and I think that a lot of African Americans do feel like that. I think there has been a push for the representation of the African American presence
Mhm.
in the creation of the vaccine. I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys have noticed that, but I do see that, and I do see or have seen on TV where we have the African American scientists, the men and the women who have helped in the creation of it. And I'm not saying that that didn't happen, but I also, in the back of my mind, feel like that's just another way to make you feel comfortable
Mm,
about the possibility of taking it. I
yeah.
was talking to some girlfriends of mine, and in reference to how quickly they came up with this vaccine, and some of the scientists were on the TV, and they were just talking about that process and how they already had somewhat of a foundation from SARS,
Hmm.
because Corona is, a variation of the SARS. And I don't know if they lost funding or whatever the case may be, and it kind of stopped. So they were saying that part of the reason why they were able to come up with a vaccine as quickly as they were is because they had already laid groundwork. Now, I'm not disputing that that
Got
has
you.
not happened or that that did
Hmm.
not happen. And I'm thankful to see people of color that look like me that have been a part of the process in the creation of this vaccine. But I still feel, regardless of whether there was a foundation laid or not, I'm a little leery when the FDA is saying we're going to kind of move forward because there's such a dire need and
Mm,
not a really allowed time for things to really pan out to see what the effects are. That's still
yeah.
scary to me because even
Hmm.
though they've done trials, we're talking about um, a virus that essentially just kind of, it didn't just pop up on the scene, but this
Hmm.
version, this 19,
Yeah.
is like a year old for us. Like we've been dealing
Hmm.
with this since last year, not even a
Yeah.
whole year yet, I don't think. So
Hmm.
that's still very scary. And, I just watch way too much sci-fi, and
Ooh.
I'm just concerned that if I get this vaccine, am I
The
really going
third
to get them
eye.
superpowers they was talking
Oh
about?
Lord.
Or have a whole nother negative effect and turn into a whole creature.
Ooh, help us.
I'm just saying, these are things that we have to take into account, like for real.
Oh man. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like a lot of times, they do push for us to be more so in studies because we are so underrepresented, and
Hmm.
as a result, a lot of our diseases don't get studied. Because we are so skeptical about participating in clinical trials. So, do y'all think that we maybe possibly shooting ourselves in the foot because we are too afraid to participate in these trials, or because they can't even really study a lot of our diseases as a result of that?
I don't think that's really the case today. Like the one of the first people that was up for a trial was a black woman, I believe, right?
Okay.
Or at least the one. So I think today we are a lot more apt, even though there is skepticism, and rightfully so, because all they're going to be able to give us is a oops, well, we didn't know, and we told you that there was possibility.
We told you it was a
Uh,
risk involved.
we told you there was risk involved. So rightfully so. But I think that there are a lot more African American people willing to be part of the studies and willing to be part of the trials. I know a lot of African American friends of mine who are going to take the vaccine.
Okay.
It's probably about 50-50. I got, half who's like, I'll wait. You know what I'm saying? They didn't say never. They just said, I'll
Yeah.
wait. And some are saying never, and then the other 50% are like, no, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Um, so I think we're actually well balanced. My concern again is just the where the pushes are coming from, trying to hide anybody that's trying to give us information so we can mitigate our own risk. And
Mhm.
then also, I don't know if we're going to go there or not, but another concern of mine with this is the medical. There used to be a thing called I'm about to say client privilege, but like basically where your medical records are private.
Like
HIPAA.
HIPAA?
Yeah, the HIPAA, HIPAA things and everything. And when they talk about the vaccine on the news, they start saying, well, you may have to show that you've been vaccinated eventually to get in concerts and to get in this.
Yeah.
And that's another concern of mine because since when do I got to tell you any disease that I've
Mm.
had or haven't had or what vaccines? Since when is that now? The only place that we have to
Mm-mm.
show vaccinations are school age children, and
Right.
that's only certain vaccinations. But since when do I, as a grown tax-paying person, have to show you my medical records to a random ticket booth, or you know what I'm
That's
saying?
true. Because I know
They-
my sister said that they may be trying to implement that in flying, like if you want to fly anywhere.
Right. And to me,
Mm-hmm.
that's also equally ridiculous
Yeah.
because this is not a cure. A
Mm-hmm.
vaccination is not it would be different if this was they were giving us cures for the disease, that we were taking something that would keep me from passing it and keep someone from getting it.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a vaccination to lower
Yeah.
the risk of that I may have
Hmm.
it. But this is not a cure of anything. So,
Mhm.
so I'm just uh, if we don't speak up in
Mm-hmm.
these times, and actually if we just go too sheepishly along, the people will go as far as we allow.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are some of my concerns.
Yeah, now the CD, now on the website, it said it had a question up there. Will this keep me from getting coronavirus? It said yes. So I don't, but then I looked and I searched, but I couldn't find anything that said how long the vaccine lasted. You know what
That's a
I'm
good
saying?
point too.
I don't know if I was just a bad researcher, but I could
Yeah.
not find where it said it's going to last you for 5 years. Nothing.
I think that goes back
Mm.
to Holly and April, what we've already said, which is there are gaps.
Mm-hmm.
There are gaps that are missing. And to your question, I was mouthing. I said no. I was asked if I wanted to be a part of the trial. Absolutely not. Let me know how that works.
Yeah.
I'm good. Yeah, no. So I think too, I don't know if we're necessarily shooting ourselves in the foot, but I think also there are those who have been brave and who have stepped up, from the African American race, from the Puerto Rican, from just people of color, that has said yes, let's try. But again, I remember seeing something earlier last year when things were happening. They were trying to figure things out, where one of the scientists was like, let's test this out on Africa. No.
Why
Yeah.
Africa got to be the guinea
That
pig?
my point exactly. And so, it's almost like when we try to put these things in place that really do have the potential to be helpful, but it's like what April was saying, the motive behind why we're doing it,
Yeah.
that does play a part. And I agree with April, as someone who loves to travel and loves to travel abroad. It
Mm-hmm.
is a little it's a little concerning to know that there's a possibility that I'm not only abroad, I may not be able to travel within my own country, from
Mm.
state to state. I'm not trying to be extreme, but I have
Mm-hmm.
heard this about having to be vaccinated. So it takes away a little bit from me my own right to choose whether or not I
Yeah.
will be, like, you're almost like forcing my hand to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not feel like that's right. being that everybody is still not as clueless, because I do feel like there's a lot that has been developed and a lot that has been discovered about coronavirus. But
Mm-hmm.
Holly and I were joking around the house that everything is a symptom. Like my
Mm.
big toe hurt, girl. That's a symptom of coronavirus.
Ooh,
Everything,
help
like
us.
everything is a symptom.
Mm-hmm.
And as the virus has continued to just be present, it's like it started out with flu-like symptoms to losing taste and smell and vertigo and heart attacks and blood clots and cardiac arrests and strokes. And I'm just like, oh my God.
Honey, it's
It's
crucial.
it's just a lot. It's a
It
lot that I
is.
still feel like they're still learning and they're still
Yeah.
understanding. And I just and this is no shade to
Mm-hmm.
the scientists who have put in the long hours,
Yeah.
who have been away from their families, um and just really put in that time and energy to try to come up with something for the general masses. I don't take that lightly. I have
Yeah.
family, my sisters in healthcare, I have aunties and uncles that work in healthcare, and they've already, started. Some of them have already had their round one of the
Mm-hmm.
virus, and so I know for them it was that peace of mind. Like, I need to work, but I want to be safe. And
Yeah.
so it's not shaming those who are choosing to get the virus, and it's not
Vaccine.
vaccine. I'm sorry, not shaming those for not shaming individuals for choosing to get the vaccine,
Mm-hmm.
nor is there any shame for those, or pointing fingers for those who have put in work all year. These scientists who are trying to come up with a solution. Thank
Yeah.
God that they exist, that they're trying to do this. The only inhibition that I'm still experiencing is that it all seems like it's a lot that we still don't know,
Yeah.
and that's causing me to be slightly leery.
I got you. I understand that. Yeah, because there was a study that I looked up online, and it was done by Texas A&M. It was in medicalnewstoday.com. And this was actually before the vaccine came out. So the numbers could be different now. But at the time, they polled and they found that African Americans were going to be 41% less likely to get the vaccination. But then they had on there that 71% of women are more likely to decline. So I thought that
Hmm.
was interesting. Like, what
Hmm.
what do y'all think would be some reasons why women more so than men would be more
Fertility.
likely to? Hmm.
That was the first thing that came into my head
Okay.
too. Some
Yeah,
fertility.
fertility. Women are concerned about their ability to reproduce. To Is this vaccine going to be something that later down the road is going to inhibit
Mm.
me, or prohibit me from being able to conceive? Is this going to be something that I could pass on? Are there some type of codes or markers or genetic things that I could pass on to my unborn child? And
That's
so,
true.
yeah, women are like, I don't know what this,
Ah.
I don't know what this could do to my womb. I don't know what this could do to me. So I could totally see women being very standoffish initially.
Yeah,
Mm.
and not to sound, hope this doesn't sound sexist, but also because most mothers usually when children are sick, we just attend to them differently than the dads. Not the dads that dads don't take care of the kids, but we see up close and personal. I have seen a vaccination gone wrong in my own child. Not
Mm.
not the coronavirus vaccine, but I have seen the effects of my child getting a vaccine that didn't exist when I was a young kid, and then
Wow.
he got a sickness that I had never heard of that was far worse
Mm-mm.
than what he had been vaccinated for. So
Wow.
Wow.
and they try to say, well, we can't say that that's exactly what blah blah blah. But as a parent, you're not trying to hear that. You're seeing what the child is going through. You're seeing things, and you're kind of so I'm saying that to say that because women more closely deal with usually probably the children when they are sick, just thinking
Mm-hmm.
now about the ramifications of what something could be if it went wrong.
I
I think we
got
just
you.
think a little differently.
Yeah. I think too, because we have that innate, within us, we're kind of more likely to discern, certain things. And if something don't sound right to us, we like, that ain't because we just have that innately within us. But I just thought that was interesting. So wow.
That's a really high number.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll make
that
a
is a
note
high
of
Hmm.
that.
Yeah,
number.
and I think believe that was overall, like, of course, the race thing. It was more so African Americans would be less likely, but then when they polled everyone, it was 71% women were less likely to decline. So I was like, wow, that's very interesting. And I'll put the link to that article so you guys can see that study as well, our listeners. So but I guess last but not least, you probably didn't already answer the question, but are you getting the vaccine? Why or why not? Or if you're not getting it down, will you get it later?
April, you want to
Okay,
go?
sure. Right now it's a no for me. Um, for the
No.
reasons that I kind of already cited. It's
Mm-hmm.
too soon. Um, I just think that they have not had time to really, this is a reactionary and somewhat a money move. Now, not everyone,
Mm.
again, I want to say, like Sweet says, not to disrespect the medical community who's really concerned. And this is just what they do and they work really hard.
Yeah.
But they know
Mm-hmm.
that this is a warp speed type thing, not a
Yeah.
normal speed type thing. And like the FDA is making allowances, per se, saying because of the situation. Um, but I think that it's just too much too soon, and
Yeah.
there are pharmaceutical companies involved. There is money being
That's true.
exchanged in hands,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of players in this game here
Mm-hmm.
that I don't necessarily trust. So and because I feel not I feel I've been exposed to coronavirus in multiple occasions, and thank God, you make it through it.
Yeah.
So I'll just wait and see what they ain't gonna be.
Mm.
I won't say never.
Yeah.
I won't say never, but right now for me it's a no.
Mm.
Got you.
Yeah, I'm definitely in agreement with April as well. I'm at this present moment, it's a no from me, but I would like to just kind of see how things play out throughout the
Mm-hmm.
remainder of the year. It's not a definite no. I'm not going to say I would never get the vaccine. I'm just saying right now, I don't feel like a dove. And I
Mm.
just want to see how things play out more. I think there's a third company that still is running trial. Is it Johnson and Johnson?
Uh,
It's
yeah,
Pfizer,
it's like
Pfizer,
it's quite a few
Moderna, and
more who
yeah.
are in
So
clinical trials. Yeah.
it's like the smartphone. Apple came out with this screen that had no buttons,
Oh
and
my,
it revolutionized. I know this is going to mess up some
the
Android
Android.
people, and
And they
I just
just
want to put
copied it.
Whatever.
Now I'm just
I
playing.
just want to look. I just want to put my
Whatever.
disclaimer out there that I'm not completely team Apple. Although
I
I do
am. No, it's
use
like.
the iPhone. I mean, I have their product. Whatever the case may be,
Hmm.
but it's really that simple. They came out with this revolutionary technology with this iPhone where there was a flat face and no buttons and
Hmm.
everything is touchscreen, and it was like the model. And
Yeah.
and now the other, the Android, the Samsung, all these other LG, all these other providers started coming out with this whole concept as well. And the truth
Hmm.
be told, when you talk to Android, and I'm going somewhere with this, I am making a correlation. When you talk to Android users and people who have Samsung, and you see the phones, the technology is very similar. And sometimes, to be honest, although Apple initiated the technology, the other person has made it better.
That's true. Yeah.
And so I think as it pertains to this vaccine, we have the Modernas and the Pfizers and the Johnsons and all these individuals who are starting out. And I think if we just give it some time, that these
Hmm.
other companies may come and enhance it and make it even better
Mm-hmm.
than
Yeah.
the inception of what we see. And in the meantime, eat right, wash your hands, put on the gloves,
Mm-hmm.
take your vitamins, do the things naturally and holistically that you can do to keep yourself protected. And I think that's what I'm gonna continue to do. And I'm gonna wait and make sure that, one, that I'm taking care of myself in the ways that I just mentioned, and that, two, that I'm also being mindful that while taking care of myself, that I'm also being cognizant of my brothers and my sisters that I interact with on a daily basis, and making sure that I don't put myself in a position where I could cause harm to them. Following the CDC guidelines, I'm housed up right now because I do have corona. I am COVID positive, and is that itch to, oh, I need to go to the store. No, you can't, because you're positive, and really denying myself for the greater
Mm-hmm.
good of my brothers and sisters, and making sure that I do the things that I know I can do to not spread, and being mindful and not being selfish. And
Yeah.
so those are the things that I'm, committed to doing, and just waiting to see
Mm-hmm.
what the end gonna be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I definitely totally agree with that. And definitely, because I was telling a coworker today, I was like, I'm just getting over coronavirus. So I was like, just in case, don't get too close. And I had my mask on because it's so important that we really love our neighbors as we love ourselves, and be
Right.
willing to, like Sweet said, be willing to be inconvenienced if it's going to potentially save another life. So I definitely agree with that. But as it relates to the vaccine, I feel the same way. No way, no
No,
how,
how,
no
no,
sir.
sir.
At least not right now, because it has been developed so quickly, and definitely, guys, this is our opinion. So if you feel like, okay, yeah, this is something that I want to do, definitely,
Absolutely.
go for it. Do your
Absolutely.
research and all of that good stuff. But as for me, I have to wait and see how this thing is going to play out. And I'm more the type that kind of leans more so on the natural side, because I believe that God has placed everything in the earth that we will ever need to fight any illness, to fight any disease. It just has to be uncovered. But I believe sometimes, because we are so quick to create, some vaccine or something like that, that sometimes we may not discover that maybe some herb or some, I don't want to be go too off the deep end with that or whatever, because I'm not, because I do believe in, our medical professionals and going to see the
Absolutely.
doctor and all that
Absolutely.
kind of stuff. But I believe sometimes, if
Holistic.
we dig a little deeper, we may find that, hey, maybe this, will assist better than somebody getting a shot and risk having an allergic reaction. So I'm more apt to do the research to see naturally how my body, I can use things to build my own body's defenses, so that I can develop a natural immunity. So,
and it and it could be both. Just to piggyback
yeah,
right quick
yeah,
off of what you said,
yeah,
because I think it's important that our listeners know that we're not shaming, like you already
no,
stated.
mm-mm,
There's no shame for those who have chosen to get the vaccine,
yeah,
who have already received the vaccine. Everybody has something that they're making this decision based upon. We all individually have decided this based off of something personal, the same way
mm-hmm,
the person who gets the vaccine is deciding off of something personal.
yeah,
So this is no shame or no
oh no,
rebuke or any of those things against those who get it, or the medical profession,
yeah,
because it's
absolutely,
like you were saying. I think there are healthy ways, and then there are things that have been created in labs that are beneficial as
yeah,
well.
that's true, that's true.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely wanted to just kind of reiterate that we're not like, all
Yeah, we ain't
science is
saying don't do it.
horrible.
No, we not
Yeah,
saying that.
no, absolutely not. Chemo has saved lives. Let's just be
Mm-hmm.
honest.
Yeah, it has.
And
It may
so we
destroy
just
your body in the process, but oh, never
Yeah, yeah,
mind.
yeah.
Well,
Just no, 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 Lord. We're gonna start
yeah, my
another.
God, on
Let me
today.
get in between this. So
Go
I'm
ahead.
I'm in agreement with both of you two. Just keep quiet. Lord
I'm
have mercy.
sorry. I'm sorry, y'all.
That's
Lord, I'm
funny.
just crazy. Go ahead,
But
April.
no, I agree with the holistic, because a lot of us have especially us who have dealt with, and I don't want to take the conversation too far for what we're talking about, but
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to medical trust, the underlying theme of this really with the vaccine is medical trust, and just
Yeah.
how we feel about our bodies and things. And again, we're not shaming anyone,
Mm-hmm.
but when you've had people in your lives and parents and family members who have been lived a lifetime on synthetic medicines, and
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
you've seen them be destroyed. I've my mother was on dialysis prior to her leaving this earth, and she had years on this medication and then another medication to deal with the effects of the other medication, and
Mm.
then the other
My
medication
mom too.
until her liver
Mm.
shut down, until her
Yeah.
kidney shut down, and
Mm-hmm.
until dialysis no longer did her any good.
Yeah.
It's not for nothing. It's no shame, no
Mm-hmm.
shade, but it's just it's a balance,
It
Yeah,
is.
and
I think
I
that's
think
the
it's
key
about
word.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
definitely is.
finding balance. Because I had an uncle, my story. I've had multiple families who have suffered from renal failure and been on
Mm-hmm.
dialysis, and is what you were saying, April. Dialysis is never meant to be a long-term solution.
Yeah.
And the time frame is very short by which they say you can survive on it.
that.
And
Mm-hmm.
it was by the grace of God that my uncle survived 20 years on
Wow.
from
Yeah,
the onset of him being diagnosed with renal failure. He was
Mm.
diagnosed, he had a kidney, the kidney rejected, it had meningitis, it had to be extracted, and
Wow.
he spent the latter part of his years on dialysis, and still lived a full life. And so it
Mm.
was like, even though that was not something that was meant to be permanent, it ended up being a permanent situation for him that
Mm-hmm.
allowed us time.
Yeah,
But it's what you said, April. It's the balance.
it is.
It's
Yeah.
the balance of all of that.
Yeah. Because my mom, it was the same thing. She had high blood pressure and diabetes, and
Yep.
the medication she had, and then she had to take another medication yeah, for the medication. And then, yeah, that's what ended up happening. Her kidneys failed and she passed away. So yeah, so I mean, and I, so I'm definitely not completely against the medical profession or taking your pills if you've been prescribed it, because I take medication for high blood pressure. So, but I'm also looking for, is there a natural way? I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
lose weight now, and then it's like, okay, is there a natural way to kind of help counterbalance? Why my blood pressure is even high? Like
Right.
sometimes I do wish we would, instead of treating the symptom, get to the root
The
of
root.
why
Yeah.
something is. It may be it's something, it might be that I'm just fat, okay, and just need to lose weight.
Or it could be stress
But
induced.
it could be stress induced. It could be, any number of things, or it could be a deficiency in a vitamin or deficiency in a mineral in my body. But sometimes we don't dig deeper. It's just like, here's your pill, 50 milligrams of such and such. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
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 But yeah, but anywho, well, ladies, this has been an amazing discussion. Did you have any final thoughts that you want to leave, or do you feel like we've already left our final thoughts with everybody?
Well, I think I could just say a word of encouragement, man. Just pray. Pray about every
Yeah.
decision you make. It's a
Yeah.
scripture. It's a scripture that talks about acknowledging God in all your ways.
Mm-hmm.
So in
Mm-hmm.
every move that you're gonna make and every
Yeah.
step you're gonna take, just acknowledge God in it.
Yeah.
Pray about it, because
Proverbs.
Yeah.
everybody's body is different, and what
Mm-hmm.
someone will have absolutely no problem with, no issues, another
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
person it could have dire issues. So we just
Mm-hmm.
gonna have to pray about the moves we make. So that's my
Yeah.
encouragement to the people out there today.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
My encouragement would I would coincide with April in that scripture she's talking about is Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Um, I would say pray, and then I would say do research.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Do the research. Read. We have this worldwide internet. Everything on it is not
Read.
deceptive. Deceptive.
Yeah.
Read and do your own research and come to a resolve within yourself about it, and then be okay with the decision that you make, whatever that decision is, But I would say definitely do your own research and be willing to do your own work, not just research about the vaccine, but even research about
Yeah.
other healthy options,
Hmm.
things that you can do to help it boost your immune system and things of that
Yeah.
nature.
Absolutely. So I say ditto to everything that they just said. So it's really nothing else for me to add. But thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of the Truth Revealed podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, share, share. Please share because we are trying
Share.
to boost our audience, my Lord. And we have some amazing content and we would love for other people to hear about it. So just do us the pleasure and share, share, share. Again, thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, God bless you and peace out.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.